Okay. I'm checking out the chat. Hi, everyone. How's it going? Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Can you grab me my iPad?
Your iPad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. First time on YouTube. Give me just a minute. Going live on YouTube. Let's see. I can't see the chat, so I might just pull up this other one and see if I can see it there. Somebody told me you can't chat, and maybe they're here, if you don't have a channel. So let me know if you are able to chat and you don't have a channel. I was thinking you maybe just needed to have an account, but I want to make sure everyone can chat because that's kind of part of it, right? Ah, I see some chatters. Okay, awesome. Amanda, hi, welcome. Okay, we'll wait just a minute because it's like 2:01. Okay, Susan, thank you so much for the feedback. Oh, I just bonked Scarlett on the head with the iPad. I'm sorry. Would you like to come visit? Hi, Jenna, welcome. I have an account, but it wouldn't let me chat unless I made a channel. Okay, so we'll have to figure this out just to make sure everyone can chat if they want to. Hello! We'll wait just a minute or two and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for being here. I'm pretty excited to try a new platform. I've always wanted to keep and store these and, maybe polish them up a little more and make them more exciting for people to watch later on as well. I really love the live element. It's important to me that you're here now because I want to talk to you about the book live. But if anyone did want to go back and watch them, this would be an easier way for me to do that. So, good afternoon, Mindy. So we'll see how the chat goes. You guys can let me know your feedback. And yeah, I did add a note sheet the other day that's kind of generic. So we will see if you guys like that. I don't know if anyone got to use it for this book, but I have a note sheet on there. I like to just put tabs in the book and I kind of go through the chapters. And I like to ask you questions kind of like before. I like to go through the book, everything that I marked, ask you questions along the way, and then at the end, I kind of see if you have anything else to put in. And yeah, I love hearing what you thought about the book because that's what makes this fun. Cindy, okay, Cindy loves the notes page. Love the notes page. Awesome. Great. So we can get started. It's about 2:03. Thank you for being here, first of all. I'm hype. This was a great book, and I think we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. What did you think? Did you like the book? Let me know. I liked it. I learned a lot. I was a little nervous because we got a 300-pager here, and I do get nervous when we commit to reading a book that's like a little longer or doesn't have an audiobook. I wanted to ask you a few questions before we kind of get into the chapters and stuff. So, yes, getting good responses. I'm so glad. Kara's favorite was the Richard Sherman chapter. I love it. Tori's still reading, loves it so far. Awesome. That is so fun. Okay, so yeah, I get a little nervous when we commit to a long one. This one did have, you could listen to the interviews. So, did any of you listen along? I loved that it had the website to listen to the podcast. And I don't know if you guys saw in my last video, but I did just want to tell you, since you're mentioning the Richard Sherman chapter, when I listened, I started and I listened to the, I was going to say Mary Poppins, the Julie Andrews chapter. And at the end of that podcast, at the end of the interview, he advertised for this thing he had coming up, which was a cruise on the Disney Dream. And I ended up years later going on that cruise he was talking about. I didn't even know him at the time. So this whole thing was very full circle for me. I do have stories to tell you about my connections to the people in this book, a couple of them. and some fun stories I have along the way. So yeah, yes, I did see someone said there were some errors and stuff. I did see some of those too. I think I still loved it overall. Somebody loved the Tom Nabby chapter. Awesome. Yeah. Alice Davis and Richard Sherman tied for my favorite. I'm so glad you guys love the Richard Sherman thing. Did you know who these people were before you started the book? Like, did you know most of them? Did you not know any? I would love to know that because I knew quite a few. But people like Bill Sullivan, I had not heard of, and I ended up loving his. And he sounded like Walt Disney. I listened to the podcast interview like while doing my notes, and the way he sounded like the way Walt Disney talked. His voice, his like pronunciation of words, it was really weird. Yay, so many comments. Okay. Awesome. I only knew of a few. Sorry, my finger's in the way. Knew of just a couple. Ah, yes. The documentary is so good. The Richard Sherman, The Boys, it's called, right? So good. Okay, the comments go away kind of fast. So if you write a shorter comment, I'll definitely be able to see the whole thing. I want to make sure I can see what you write. Yay. Okay, cool. Kara had heard of several. Fewer surprises. Cindy loved Alice Davis, Julie Andrews, Richard Sherman. Alice Davis was very interesting as well. Yes. Okay. So fun. So anything else you want to add before we get started? I have a lot of little notes, and these are like plastic, so I like to reuse them. I take them, they're still sticky, and it all works. Heard of several, but a few you had never heard of. Very cool. Thank you for the feedback. I love to hear. I really enjoyed getting to know a couple of these people I had never heard of. So let's start in the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And thank you for being here. I'm so excited. This is like different and new and fun. And I see we have some familiar, like longtime book club friends and then brand new book club friends. So thank you to my founding members and my first timers. So the first thing I noted was, I don't even remember who Ralph Kent is at this point. There was like so much information in this book. Oh, okay, yes, the Mickey Mouse watch fella. What'd you guys think of this one? Any thoughts? I got to tell you, some of my favorite things in this book were this exact type of thing. The design people. I really like Charles Ridgway with the marketing stuff. So if we think about now how wild the Disney merchandise scene is with licensing and all of that, and then going back to this fella who, well, he said he like created the first Disney watch, right? First Mickey Mouse watch, and it was like an internal thing. Kind of crazy to think that that was not, you know, merchandise was not always the head of everything, because I feel like now there's like literally events for merchandise, like it's a huge thing. So I thought it was really cute how he came, this is what I had marked here, the first thing, how he had written to Walt Disney, and then Walt, he didn't tell him until years later, and Walt was like, why didn't you tell me this? Because his last name was different at that point. So I thought that was really cool. And that was one of the most interesting things about, I think, most of these people for me, was how they came to get their jobs and the ones that knew Walt Disney and stuff. Yes, Erica brought up how they could start in one area and then like really rise in the company, which is like so not as common anymore. But yeah, people started and it was such a smaller company back then, right? Somebody had mentioned there were only 10,000 people in the company when they worked there, and I was like, oh my gosh, what? There's like, I was gonna say there's like 60,000 here now, but I don't know what the numbers are now after the layoffs and stuff. It's changed a lot, but yeah. Love it. Yeah, Allie loved the pen pal aspect as well. Scarlett was barking. Was somebody outside? Okay, and if you have anything about this this person in this chapter, please let me know. I'm interested. Um, a lot in this book, but in this chapter, we hear about Walt Disney and Epcot and how he cared about these things. Like this one, I commented on. I like noted this. He wanted to get all of the top doctors in the world in one place to solve all the cures for the diseases that plagued us. That's what Ralph Kent said about Walt Disney and like the World's Fair and World Showcase, like what his kind of thinking was about bringing people together for that. And if you just think about, like, this gave me a much deeper appreciation for Walt Disney. I mean, I already absolutely adore, you know, what he's done, but some of these people that had kind of like worked closely and like with him and what they said about how he felt about some things and stuff, you know, especially, oh, I'm on Scarlett's bed and she's trying to get on here. Sorry, girl. Hearing that just about, you know, how he had such bigger ambitions than just like making a theme park, but how he really wanted to do other things and help people and bring people together, and just very much deeper than the kind of fun, silly things that we enjoy. We need the fun, silly things, but just knowing the deeper side of Walt Disney and some of his ambitions was really special. So did anyone else have anything for that first interview that they wanted to talk about? Oh yes, Amanda liked that. He said the partner statue points to his window. That was really cute. Yeah, and Kara said, and they were all saying the same thing about Walt. Yeah. I didn't mark a lot for that. I have so many in some of these other chapters. So if you have anything else for that first one or anything along the way, feel free to pop it in there in the comments. Oh yeah, Mindy said it was amazing how he interacted with his employees. He saw them as people. Yeah. And I loved how he like really looked for the good in people always and like believed in them to do like more than they were already doing. Talara, hi. We just finished the first interview. So the next one, George McGinnis. It's also really interesting, like Lou's relationship with some of these people. Pretty cool that he was like pals with some and, you know, went on to host them at events and stuff. But we'll get to that. So let's see. So this George McGinnis fella, so pretty cool that he was like really slaying it in the train game at school. And can you imagine like Walt Disney wanting to, like being interested in your school projects and stuff? Kind of amazing. I'm just checking my notes here. I had marked this a little later on in the middle of the chapter, or like page 39 on the bottom. George McGinnis said, it wasn't a high capacity ride, but Walt didn't mind that. He wanted you to be entertained in the queue. Always tried to make the queues interesting. As long as people are walking along, they're happy. And I just was like, wow, that's so relatable. How do you guys feel about that? So basically, I love the idea of just walking through the queue. I know it's kind of weird like with FastPass because it is great to just walk on the ride, but honestly, like I don't mind waiting in the line as long as I'm walking along and it's interesting. And so the fact that this person said that Walt Disney said and thought that, I was like, no, that's the truth. Like that's real. I I love some of these queues. Erica said the creation of Space Mountain was interesting and how things had to be adjusted. Makes you appreciate the effort. Yeah, definitely. Amanda said they talked a lot about Horizons, but I'm not familiar with it. Me either, and I definitely learned some new things. And this was the interview, I don't know if I have it marked, but I think this is the one where he talked about, yes, Star Tunnel. Do you guys know what Star Tunnel is? It's like, from the interview, it seemed like this gentleman might not have got what he was trying to say. But Star Tunnel is that area. Okay, so at Disney World Space Mountain, you walk in directly into the building. Then you go down and then you go around. There's like a little loop. And then you go right into this tunnel, and it's Star Tunnel. and it has this amazing music that's like kind of like chimey and echoey. You'd probably know it if you heard it. If you Google Space Mountain Star Tunnel on YouTube, it's nice. It's really nice. It's like a Disney fan thing. I've loved that for like 10 years. They ended up putting like a announcement over that, and so now it's not as like pleasant as peaceful. But it's basically like the first thing when you start kind of like you go down and you go up. Anyway, so I guess this gentleman helped make that part. And yeah, I'm a big fan. And if you have anything else about George McGinnis throughout, please let me know. Okay, so he had mentioned that John Hench, do you guys know who that is? He was like a very foundational Imagineer back in the day, helped create and do a lot of different stuff. John Hench was always reminding us we were getting an education at Disney that we could get nowhere else, and I think that was true. And I think it's so cool, and I always love hearing about how Walt Disney would bring in people to help train his people. He wouldn't, even like when he started here, I can't remember, I think it was Walt. Anyway, there was something about like not wanting to like recruit cast like theme park workers and amusement park workers from other places, but like getting people and like molding them into like what he wanted. And I think that's so interesting. That was all I had. I did want to also note that on page 48, George McGinnis's sketch of Space Mountain really looks like what I thought was like John Hench's art. Very similar. It's like this kind of like scratchy almost sketch. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll have to like think about it now if I see that old Space Mountain art. It's not always John Hench. So this next one, Alice Davis, was so good. I love this one. I'm just gonna bring up, without even looking, like some of the things that were my favorites. First, the fact that they met at school and Mark Davis was like her teacher, basically. The fact that, okay, I'll have to look up page 65, 66. The fact that she went to this school and said, I want to be an Imagineer. Okay, everybody loved her chapter. I'm so glad. Or I want to be an animator. And the lady at the school was like, well, men are animators. And the fact that it was like the war and like people were coming back with GI Bills. And there was like a line to go to this school basically because of the war. I mean, it was just so fascinating thinking about, I have chills because I'm such a nerd for this. Like the time period that this person who was such a special part of Disney history, just like where we were in time, like World War II was such a like huge earth event, and then we're right here at the end of this, and like what that meant for women and women going to work. I visited the Rosie the Riveter museum in San Francisco and like learned about women getting to work basically because of the Second World War and how that started and stuff. And so she was kind of like one of those pioneers of women working. Yeah, I just was really fascinated by her story and that. And I know you guys are gonna love this too. How about her connection to Up? I had no idea. And that fund that they had. So basically, just the fact that like Pete Docter and some Pixar folks like went to her house and kind of studied her and Mark's like home and their relationship, and so special. I had no idea. I didn't know she was involved that way, and that basically when you see Carl and Ellie, that's like them. And of course, like she didn't die young and stuff. Yay, you guys loved it too. I know, it was so cool. Like I know so much. Like, don't you just know so much Disney stuff? But like to know like who she is, and I've met her, by the way. I like bought Mark Davis's book and then we got to go get it signed by her, and it was cool. So I have a picture with her somewhere. But yeah, I thought that was so special and how they kind of changed it. But the fund was like really, really amazing. So basically, just as a reminder, like the Paradise Falls savings jug that they had in the movie, how that was like something in real life that they had. Their like fund was actually, they had hit some hard times and somebody gave them money when they really needed it, and then they decided they would have a fund that they would give to people. And gosh, just that spirit of giving and humanity, and like how they cared about people. I mean, aside from being like these awesome artists and contributing to like Disney and so much, like who knew they cared so much. Okay, I see you guys talking about some funny stuff in the comments. I'm gonna just keep it going here. So, oh yes, the family show. I know you're talking about the what, the knees of the can dancers. So funny. Yeah, and how she just like didn't feel like explaining it. A boss. Yeah, Jenna, that's so cool that your husband thought the stories were interesting. I think these are just like really interesting people, like even if you're not into Disney, just really cool like jobs that they had, and like the kind of stuff they did is just really neat. Like even if you don't like Disney, it is like a cool part of history, just like entertainment, theme parks, and all that. All right, I'm gonna see what else I had. I thought it was really cool. Oh, okay. I could go on about the Alice Davis chapter, but I just want to share like a couple more things. And please, if you have more, I want her to be my grandma so I can hear her stories on holidays, said Kara. That's that's awesome. I love that. So the fact that they were at the Tam O'Shanter, do you guys know about that restaurant? It was like by the Disney Studios, right? And they like to go there. Jim took me there the day he proposed. He proposed like in LA and did this whole cute thing where he took me to like all the places that made like all Walt Disney's places, basically. Like took me to the carousel site that where Walt Disney sat and like saw, you know, his girls on the carousel, and was like, I wish there was a place where families could play together. And he took me to like the studio in Imagineering, and we went to the fountain where I like met him, that they have a replica at Hollywood Studios. Anyway, where was I going with this? We went to the Tam O'Shanter. We went out to dinner. That's where we went out that night. And like there's like a Walt Disney table and stuff. So anyway, I loved hearing like a story about her, like them really being there, like it really being real, versus you just hear like, oh, Walt Disney used to like to go here. But then that she like, they bought a house, and then she was like doing house renovating, and was tired and was like, Mark, we're going out to eat tonight. Like such a cool, relatable story. And then that's where she would like see and talk to Walt Disney, and he would be like, you're gonna work for me someday. That happened to the Tam O'Shanter. Wow, like we can go there. That's a real place. That's super cool. And the amount of history, if you're a Disney fan, is just mind-blowing. Can you imagine like the ideas thought up in there? Come on, how cool. Okay, a couple more Alice things, and then I'm gonna head on to the next one. Did you guys have anything else about Alice Davis? I have so much marked, and we got a lot of other people to get to still. So, I mean, this is like Alice's chapter right here, like all these. Hi, Lon. So, let's see. Now that I think about it, that might have been my favorite chapter. So I really liked it when she said, and Walt came through with his Admiral and General, General Potter and Admiral Fowler. Do you guys know those are the boats, like the ferry boats at Disney World, and that's who they're named after. They like were former military men who like helped him, and it like talked about that a little bit. What a cool story. That was the Can girls part, and like who Walt was with, and just kind of mind-blowing to like think about all these people, like their real stories interacting versus just like, this is Alice Davis, she was an Imagineer and she did, you know, she did this, she designed the Pirates animatronic story. was the funniest in the book. So yeah, I like apparently missed something you guys were talking about. All right, looking for my last couple of things here. So that school she was talking about, the school she went to, 65, 66. Chouinard, I forgot how she said it. Chouinard. I hadn't really heard of it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the pirate. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so lost my train of thought. All right, let me check these last couple of things here. Oh yeah, so how they would study and stuff. I've always heard of the other school that like lots of Imagineers go to, and they would study at Cal Arts. There's like, that's where like A113 is from the movies and stuff. And so it said the 9 old men went to Chouinard at night. And so those were like the original Disney artists. And this is like, you know, back in the day. So she like knew where to go and stuff. Oh, okay. This part was really cool. The fact that someone said, I really do think he has made animation the art of the United States. I'll take it. What do you guys think? All those other countries have like the super old countries that have been around and have all this like distinguished art and stuff, but like America's animation? Okay, I'll take it. But it really is an important part of like American culture, and it's become like a big thing around the world. I know I don't think it's for kids. I mean, I go see every animated movie. I'm also like, you know, I'm like a Disney person, and I've turned it into this whole thing I do online and stuff, so I love to talk about it. But I really do just love to see it as an adult. It's so exciting to me still. So I definitely consider it an art form, and I'll take it as our art form. Yeah, I think Kara said she thinks we lead the entertainment, and I think that's a huge part of American art and entertainment, I think. Sarah said, I love how she snuck a crying girl into Disneyland. That was a very honest story, but like, what does she have to lose at this point, I guess, right? I did want to note too that these interviews were done over the span of, I don't know how long. One of them was like 2007, I want to say, but like, I think I listened to some that were like 2009. So, you know, the history and the old stories and stuff don't change, but there were a few things like somebody wasn't a legend at the time, but then like they later became one or whatever. So something to remember. April said, I think Walt would have appreciated that she did that. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not something I think you can do today, or that like someone should do today, but she like had the ticket and stuff, right? It was past the time to get in. Like, I think it was a good call for her. Like, help this kid out. Let this kid see Disneyland. So, anything else about Alice Davis, feel free to pop it in the comments. But I'm going to shimmy over onto Dave Smith chapter. I was excited to read more about Dave Smith. I've like always heard about him, but I didn't know much about his story and how he came to be an archivist there and stuff. So the fact that he got to be the person to go into Walt's office, and it was kind of like untouched and stuff, for like 2 years, and then he just like got this job and like gets to be the person to like go in there and archive it. I thought that was amazing. And so the office like went away for a while. In here, it talked about how they needed to use it because it was like important space and the space was limited and stuff. And then they brought it back. Did you guys know that? Like a few years ago, they like recreated the office from day one, and they wouldn't have been able to do that, I don't think, without, you know, somebody archiving where everything was, how it was set up. And I think the office was reset up to be like exactly how Walt left it. I don't know if it's down to the detail of like what was on the desk and where, but yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And that's because this man did that, I think. So I thought it was very interesting on page 96 when he was talking about the archives and what kind of stuff they were saving, and how he mentioned another place too that there was a point where people could like go and study basically and like look at their stuff, but that the archive at that point, up until that point, had been the basically archiving stuff like for the company kind of, but then they started saving like stuff for like museums because Bob Iger said like maybe we'll do a museum. We're still waiting. I'm waiting for a Disney museum. I was like really excited about that. I thought that would be so cool. And then there's the Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, like far from Disneyland. But if there was just like a Walt Disney Company museum, I think that's a really cool story to tell, and I think I would go there in addition to like Disney parks. So maybe someday. I have heard like from people I know and stuff that's like unsurprisingly so, space is limited for a lot of these things. Like I've heard Imagineering like doesn't have a lot of space, and that space is kind of an issue for some of these parts of the company. So, you know, it's kind of interesting thinking about. But if you think about it, they have these huge ride vehicles and stuff, and all this like gigantic art, and like depending on what they're trying to save and store, like yeah, I guess you would need a lot of room. So let's see. I have something marked here on page 110. Oh, okay. I had moved on to Julie Andrews. I was like, why is this not a Dave Smith thing? Anything else about Dave Smith? Susan would also love a museum. I think we can all get behind it. I'll go. All right, moving into Julie Andrews, everyone. This was the first one I read. I jumped to the middle of the book and I was like, I'm going to listen to this interview and read along with it. And how amazing that Julie Andrews took singing lessons to keep busy when schools were closed during World War II. What? Like, what? How amazing. Just thinking about where all these people were at different points in time. Sarah said her interview was not long enough. I could have listened forever. Allie listened with the voice in her head, and Cindy said Julie Andrews is a legend. She embodies so much Disney for me. Me too. She really is. And I love that she later came back to be, like, was she an ambassador at Disneyland? It talked about how she came to celebrate, I think, the 50th and was there and stuff. So cool. Another really incredible story about Walt Disney, like, kind of seeking that person out, him asking her to do that, and just the fact that she was pregnant and he was like, we'll wait. Wow. She must have been very flattered. Very flattered. I'm so glad you guys like this one too. Okay, the next thing I marked was, I thought it was really cute that she was like struggling with the LA heat because it mostly rains in England, she said. And if you ever get to visit, which it's not impossible to like visit the studios, like right now probably, but when I've gone to visit the studios, I think twice, and it was just like, if you're a cast member, you can go with a cast member. So like if you knew someone that worked at Disneyland, I know the world is weird right now, but you know, the rules were like, you can just go visit it, and there are certain parts you can see, like these really historic parts, and like the building where they like filmed Mary Poppins, and what she's talking about is like there still, all still happening. Let me see. Mindy thought it was amazing. He waited for her. I love that he was just 100% happy to wait until after she had her baby, said Jenna. Yeah. Oh, Cindy said Walt's fave song was Feed the Birds. I didn't know. So I actually learned that from a D23 event when Richard Sherman was like performing his songs and talking through them. And so I got to kind of learn it from him, which I thought was so cool. And I think they also like talked about it in his chapter a bit. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the best songs ever. It's fantastic. So I'm not surprised at all. And I think it's so cute thinking about Walt Disney saying like, what did he say? Like, sing the bird song or whatever. So cute. So Julie Andrews talked about when she watched the movie, what did she think? And she was like looking for this one part to see if she looked like she had it together and she knew what she was doing. Can you imagine Julie Andrews thinking like, did I look good in this one part? Meanwhile, it's this legendary film that's like just complete perfection. Even people like Julie Andrews second guess themselves. So if you're like struggling with confidence, so was Julie Andrews, honey. We all go through it. Okay. Well, thank you, Jeanette. Allie LaCroix, I love the part about her being too pretty, but she had the right nose. Yeah. Okay, Kara wasn't a fan of the song until she learned a little more about the book. Oh my gosh. Okay, Jenna says, it definitely rains all the time in England. It's raining now. I hope it's okay. Of course. So glad you're here. Yes. Everyone is welcome from everywhere. So, okay. So in November 2012, we set sail on the Disney Dream. Okay. I went over to Richard Sherman. Sorry. My next marker was in the Richard Sherman chapter. So if you have anything else about Julie Andrews, you can go ahead and write a comment, or any comments about the book at all at any time. I don't want to just be here talking to you. I want to talk with you. So if you have anything you want to say, you're welcome to it. So got to the Richard Sherman chapter. So excited to talk about this. So I mentioned that at the end of the Julie Andrews podcast interview, Lou had mentioned that he had this thing coming up and he wanted to take a group on the Disney Dream. And then I ended up going on that cruise. I like filmed a YouTube video series and stuff. And that was like a really fun time for me. It's like some of my best memories. And then the next year I had a boyfriend. My boyfriend came with me on Lou's next cruise. And he had talent on that cruise, and that talent was Richard Sherman. And so he says in here, in his intro, we set sail on the Disney Dream with 500 members of our community. And like, I was on that. I went there. And I have some really cool stories. And I wanted to like tell you about that. So it was so cool. Hello from the boyfriend. Jim came with me. So we got to see Richard Sherman perform on the Dream in the Walt Disney Theater. It was so neat. And at the time, I had this like really sparkly phone case on my like, I'm not sure if it was an old iPhone. And I was leaving to go to the restroom. We were out to eat. And on my way to the restroom, coming in was Richard Sherman to Enchanted Garden, him and his wife. It was like an off time afternoon, just like going for lunch. And I was like, oh my goodness, hello, like, so nice to meet you. Like, thank you for coming on the cruise with our group. And I, he was so nice. Him and his wife were a delight. And we just talked for a minute. But I asked if I could take a photo. And he said he liked my sparkly phone case. And I was like, ah. So it was really special. He just has such amazing stories, working right with Walt Disney. And wrote so many songs. Like at the end of this interview, when Lou was like going through just the Mary Poppins songs that he wrote and stuff and was saying, you know, that's like a masterpiece. And oh my goodness, just such a delight. So I'm seeing so many good comments here. You guys loved all the stuff I did, and yes, how special, Mindy said, for Lou's kids to spend time, one-on-one time. When he said, like, can you imagine Richard Sherman being like, can I take your kids to go see the show with my wife? And like taking them all, like, how special. That was so cool. And I really liked hearing some of those stories because, like, obviously when you're on the cruise, you're not together all the time. So, like, he got way quality time with him, and yeah, so special. Cindy brought up one of the best parts, which is, I love how he says, "It's a small world" is like a prayer for peace. I've heard him say that in person. And then when we were on that Avengers call, like, I got to talk to the Avengers on Zoom. My friend won a thing. Jim actually got to, like, explain that song to them. It was really cool. He got to tell them that it was like a prayer for peace. So yeah, loved that. You guys had a couple comments about the bird story swooping in. So amazing to, like, he didn't even know, like, that he was playing, and he heard, like, the audible gasp and then asked someone after. Like, oh, just so special. So I had a bunch of stuff marked in here, and it's probably stuff we talked about. I did mark that Richard Sherman said that it changed when Walt passed away, and when he was alive, nobody ever thought about anything but doing a great job on the product. And I thought, like, that was important. Like, people didn't talk about money so much. It was like, just let's put good work out there. Susan said the Tiki Room story was great. I really like the idea that Richard Sherman said we weren't just songwriters for him, we were story men, and that they did so much with the story. And I think that's really, like, true today still with like the Lopez's that did, like, Frozen and stuff. They talk about you know, they contribute a lot to the story, which is awesome. Wiggy said, did you see the documentary about the brothers? So sad. Yes. They, like, had a falling out, and it was unfortunate, but that is a great documentary if you want to, like, learn more about, or, like, see. Let's have a Scarlett break, because Scarlett is nudging at me for attention. Would you like to say hello? Say hi to everyone. Okay, let me see what else I had for Richard Sherman. Anything else, you guys? There's so much. That was probably, like, my second favorite one. Oh, you say hi? You say hi to the people? Okay, so the thing about, oh, everyone says hi to Scarlett. Oh, and now we're gonna cough because we got too excited. So there was this whole chapter on page 135 in the Richard Sherman thing that I loved. Basically, he talked about music at the time, writing the Carousel of Progress song. He said, quote, Walt wanted him to, quote, write a song that would tell the story with broad strokes of how life was changed through man's ingenuity, of man reaching further, challenging the envelope and going further. And I thought that was really cool. Kind of just like learning about the World's Fair Carousel of Progress, and that's exactly what that song is, you know? And how it was, like, originally they said, like, Walt has a dream, but, like, oh, we can't be that, so they changed it to man. Very cool. He also mentioned a couple things like, personally I loved. He said into the 60s, which would be the current day at the time, and that would be the sweet music, sort of Mantovani strings. That's, like, my favorite music of all music, is, like, a beautiful string section. Like old Christmas music songs and stuff. My favorite. Okay, so Cindy said her favorite thing was on page 136 of looking on the bright side, being optimistic. I love it. And when it becomes, yeah, I loved the lyrics. We kind of talked about the words. Yes. So good to just like hear his take on Is a Small World and all of that. We kind of talked about the prayer for peace part, and yeah, it's definitely deeper than you think it is. I know there's a joke about like, I don't want to go on It's a Small World, but it really is so special and wonderful if you think about the lyrics and the intent there. Oh, yes. Cindy, I think I know what you're talking about. The part about Richard Sherman talking about how the spoonful of sugar wasn't anything about the spoonful of sugar, but how having a great like positive sentiment and going into difficult things in life like just makes it so much better, however he said it. That whole part, oh, if you have a bright attitude about something, a sweet attitude, a tough job becomes easier. I mean, come on, that's so good. I love that. And yeah, just that whole section about the tuppence and how like tuppence is nothing but like giving from your heart is everything. Oh, really, really beautiful stuff. If you have anything else about Richard Sherman, feel free to leave it in the comments. Oh, okay, on 150 he said this thing that I like took to heart. He said, "Why cry about bad weather? Enjoy it. Each moment is a treasure. Enjoy it." Like that was like from a song or something. How special! Just like such an optimist, like wonderful, caring, kind thoughts. So good. So good. Also, I just wanted to bring up that, is this still, okay, this was in the next interview with Charles Ridgway. So are we ready for the next one? I'm going in. This one was really exciting for me. I didn't really know who Charles Ridgway was. I really connected with this one because you guys know, like, I'm a content creator, so that's like a modern day journalist. I love marketing and PR. I work with like the Disney publicists, and this was really cool. He was a journalist and then went on to work in Disney PR, and I was like, I love this. So April, I'm interested in his book as well, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys and see what you thought. I did find it around the internet. It was, I think, if I remember correctly, I think there was only a hardcover available on Amazon, and it was like $40. But if you went to like thrift places for books, they were available for like a great price. Like you could find them for $7 or $8 on eBay and stuff. So I'm very interested in that. He had some really fun stories. We sat across from Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher at a luncheon on the opening of Disneyland. You guys know who that is, right? Aside from being legends themselves, that's like Carrie Fisher's parents. Pretty cool. I'm gonna kind of speed through some of these and let me know if you had anything marked, but or if you liked anything from Charles Ridgway's chapter. So on page 175, can we talk about the first like live streamers? So basically just like discovering that people were very interested in satellite live feeds for major publicity and how cool that was and how they decided to use that. Susan said he was so positive about the opening. Oh yes. Okay, Amanda said Charles' story about the Donald Duck cells that were cut up and sold for souvenirs. Genius. But that also reminded me about the Donald Duck story, which I think was in, I don't know if that was in this chapter or another one. It might have been in Bill Sullivan's. I'll go through and see. So yeah, he had a lot of positive stuff to say about Michael Eisner and Frank Wells coming on board. All of a sudden it was like Walt was back, which is so interesting because this is a person, if you guys have been in the book club for a while, we read Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, right, from Pixar. And so he was there like at the end. Oh no, wait, I'm getting my books mixed up. It was in the Bob Iger book, wasn't it? That he talked about Michael Eisner kind of going out on a weird note and like some like interesting stuff, it was the Bob Iger book, Right of a Lifetime. And so this person, Charles Ridgway, was there when Michael Eisner entered the company as the CEO and like really added a lot and changed a lot and like contributed so much. And then how interesting to like hear from someone's perspective who knew him later in his career, at the end of his career, and like there was a lot of, it was rocky and kind of different than this take. So yeah, I thought that was a very interesting contrast. And oh yeah, this was, I had already mentioned the part about Walt wanting people who would be consistent and not hiring new people every year, but people who would stay there and work all the time, like to keep it open, and wanting it to be the cast members, or no, it wasn't Walt, it was, let me see. Oh no, it was Walt, yeah. He wanted people to carry on the tradition, and I think that's why the, well, thanks, Amanda. I think that's why the cast members are so wonderful today, because they, you know, the tradition is special and important, and it's not just like new people every year. I'm gonna try and keep this under an hour. We got a little bit more to go. I didn't have as much stuff marked in the last one, so I think we're doing good. Okay, so next chapter. Okay, so was the Donald's 50th, was that in this one? I don't want to miss that, because that was like one of my favorite parts of the whole book. Okay, yes, so on page 178, that whole, thank you for bringing it up. Thank you, Sarah. This is one of my favorite things of the whole book. Have you guys seen the picture before? Because I've totally seen that picture of like Donald Duck with the like ducks behind him, like a row of ducks behind him. And just the fact that they wanted to have that happen, they wanted like ducks following Donald, but they said like in order to do that, you need to like introduce Donald Duck to hatchlings, and like they need to build a relationship. And so like they did that. Think of all the work they went through as like a public relations, like a publicity stunt kind of thing. Like they had to work for that. That was like a serious thing. I never would have known. That was so cool. How much work they put into it just for like that one visual and to celebrate Donald and stuff. I don't know how I felt about them like putting hats on them and putting on the parade float, but I don't think we do stuff like that anymore. Some really funny old stories in here. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I almost missed it, and that was one of my favorite things. Okay, so moving on to Marty Sklar. Had you guys heard of him? Did you know what he did and stuff? Because I got to have this really awesome experience. It was, I think, the 2013 D23 Expo, where I went like as a member of the media, and I had to individually request certain things, like if I wanted to go to somebody's session or something, and I got accepted to go to Marty Sklar's and hear him talk about his new book, the book he mentions in here. And so I get to go there and like be close and hear him, and then Jim bought the book, and then our friend got it signed, so I had a really special like experience with this gentleman. Like that was really special to me. I didn't get to like hang out with him or anything, but just getting to go like professionally and see him talk and stuff. So the fact that he became like basically Walt Disney's ghostwriter, hearing him talk about that and how he kind of like formed, you know, a lot of Walt Disney's, I don't know, like how he wrote these really important things that Walt Disney said, and he tried to think about like what Walt would want to say and how he would say it. And then when Lou asked him later on, like, did you still keep trying to basically write like Walt? I thought he was gonna say no, but he said yeah. He like, even after Walt passed, he tried to like still get that across in the materials he was writing and stuff, and I just thought that was so interesting. And him writing like the corporate stuff and basically being like speaking for Walt pretty much. Very interesting. I didn't have a lot marked in that chapter, but if you have anything else, he is a treasure. I think I saw someone say that. So Bill Sullivan I had a lot of fun stuff. Like, I loved this interview. I thought was so good. I loved learning about that Disney did like the Winter Olympic entertainment in 1960 in Northern California. Had no idea. I don't know that much about old Olympics. And I thought that was so cool. So the fact that Walt would just be walking down the park and seeing what was going on. We'd be sitting around and Walt would come down and sit on the boats and shoot the breeze with the guys and see what our attitudes and opinions were. How cool is that? Sarah asked if Sully from Monsters, Inc. was named after him. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. So I don't want to answer that for real. Yeah, we should try and find that out. So, okay, so code W meant that Walt was in the park, or code R meant that Walt Disney, or that Roy Disney was there. How cool is that? And I love that this guy designed the main gate, main entrance of the park, not only of the park, but for ticket sales and the width of Main Street. And I had heard this thing about basically Disneyland was like, you know, as it was, and that as they added on each new like resort or like world, you know, they added Walt Disney World, they made it a little bigger and easier to get around it. They added Tokyo Disney, that was even more better like commercial planning. So when he talked about like making the street wider and stuff, they like thought about these little areas that were issues, like people getting around and stuff, and tried to make them better each time. And I've heard the parks are like, if you visit them in chronological order, there are less like tiny areas, like it is easier to get around and like better planned. So they learned from their mistakes, I guess. So the last one, Tom Nabby, I had, wait, was it the last one? Oh no, there's two more. Okay. I don't have a lot marked for these last few. Jim told me that the Nabby Grabber is named after Tom Nabby. Is that true, Jim? And which is one of those like little, it's like a handle grabber and it pinches things and you can pick things up. I really wanted them to talk about this in this interview, but they didn't. But it makes sense if you think about it, because cleanliness was right on the top of the list, he said. And he said something about Disneyland being the trashiest or the dirtiest. I get that was like the first. Yeah, he had a thing for like it being clean. And like Walt Disney picking up the trash. Yeah. So, hang on, we got a comment here. Jim said he was told he invented it. You have one, Sarah. So you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. Susan said Tom Sawyer Story was great. Yes. That was really interesting. Wait, was that this guy? I got the last two in the book, I think. Or no. I got Bill Sullivan and Tom Nabby confused a little because there was like some kinds of overlap to me. And then I think one mentioned the other and I was like, oh dear. Oh yes, okay, so he was the Tom Sawyer, and I love that they talked about he needed to have a C average, had to maintain that. I thought that was really neat. And then I had also marked, I thought it was kind of sad that he had this relationship with Walt Disney, and then like he went away to like go be in the military and fight and stuff, and then basically like Walt passed away and he like missed the World's Fair and stuff because he was in the Marine Corps. Like he came back to like a really different world. I thought that was so interesting. And if you had anything else about that gentleman, feel free to share it. Oh, I know, I miss Main Street too. Jenna said, I used to work on the monorail at a UK theme park, and when Todd and Emmy talked about walking on the monorail beams of the harness, I was filled with anxiety. Oh dear. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the last one was the former Imagineer. There was some really interesting stuff in here. I listened to that one and I liked hearing his voice and how he was like, sounded like an old Hollywood guy and the way he talked. It was very interesting. So that was kind of fun. I ended up going down like a rabbit hole looking up old Mickey Mouse Club member photos. Did I say he was a member of the Mickey Mouse Club? What did I say? I said something else. He was a Mouseketeer. I hope I said that. And so really interesting what he was saying about his work and how he kind of got lucky because he was a professional and they didn't want professionals. They kind of wanted like regular kids. This book was sent to me by the author, so I'm not sure how much it is. I want to say it was like under 15. It's on Amazon. It was a good price. And it's a brand new book. So, yeah. What's interesting is that show was so long ago, but because they were kids, these, a lot of these folks are still around. And, yeah, just hearing his stories, and I think the interview was from quite a while ago. Hearing him talking about being Annette Funicello's little boyfriend and stuff was so cute. And just like how the show worked, and yeah, it was interesting. And then I love this picture of Walt's office at the end. And that's his book. Almost got it in under an hour. It's funny, sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's only like 30-minute book club meetings. Yeah, I think this cover is gorgeous. Thanks for pointing that out. Very beautiful. So what do you guys think? It seems like everyone liked it. I thought it was great. I learned a lot. It was like reading 10 books, kind of, wasn't it? Because they were so, like, Lou's a great interviewer. He did fantastic, like, getting stories out of them. Oh, yay. Kira said it was a highlight of her weekend. Thank you so much. Cindy loved the book. I'm so glad. So before we go, I did want to just bring up our book for next month, and I'm trying to pick books like farther out, so I would like to get like March up soon and April a little after. And we have The Gift of Life coming up next month. It's not a direct Disney connection. It's like kind of like a step away from Disney. So yay, everyone enjoyed it. I'm so glad. Shared info with my family throughout, said April. I did too. I was like telling Jim stories. I love that. So for this one, this is a book written by Henry Landworth, or Henri, I think he actually pronounced it as, or at least that's what I saw on a show. And he was a Holocaust survivor and worked in the hotel industry and created Give Kids the World Village that I always talk about and love so much. So that's going to be our book. I've had this book for years. It's a book that I just needed to read, that I just, you have a stack of books sometimes that you just need to get to. And I'm so excited to read this with you guys. I know some of you said you bought it already. I think we'll learn a lot. I think it should be I think this is like another really positive person, just like how incredible his life was and everything he did. So and yeah, his former wife is the president and CEO of Give Kids the World Village today. We read her book already. It was called Purpose, something about purpose, but it's Pam Landworth, and that was a great book. So yeah, I hope to have you join me for next month. We try and switch up the books to be different. So it's always like Disney or Disney related books. But I try to switch between like fiction and non, or, inspirational and, like different kinds. I try to make the books different. So I think this will be a fun little switch. And then maybe we'll try and do fiction or something after this. If you have ideas for books, let me know. You can message me. Thank you so much for watching. And now I'll try to figure out how to end this. Thanks for like bearing with me for my first YouTube experience on here. So, oh, Anjali, you're here. Hi. Yay. All right, guys, I'm gonna end it. Maybe we'll see. I'm pushing other buttons to see what they do before I get off. Okay, I see. Ah, and I can turn it around. Great, lovely, wonderful. Yay, Cindy's birthday week. Okay, bye guys. See you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Mindy. Yay.